Hey, what's up, everybody? Juan Martinez, aka Dr. Love, and you've just joined us on This Is Real. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of This Is Real, a show with real people, real problems, and real solutions with yours truly, Pastor Juan Martinez, aka Dr. Love. And today, we're going to talk about real faith, man. What happens to you when you get punched in the face? You know, I love Brother James, man. We're going to be diving into James chapter 1 because he's talking about not just Sunday faith, and he's not just talking about emotional faith. He's talking about when life punches you in the face, pretty much when you're in a trial. He talks about wisdom. He talks about temptation and all of those things we're going to be talking about today. Everybody wants to be wise until wisdom tells you to sit down, to shut up, or to be still. Then you don't like it. So that's what we're going to talk about today on This Is Real. We'll be right back. Throughout that season, everything, I tell people all the time, I go, man, I didn't start really living it out till like 3 years after I got, like all the first 3 years were like hard, but everything I was filling myself with, I had to pull on.
Yeah.
You know, because it was difficult. Like I didn't have money. I wanted to have sex with this woman that I was going to later marry, but I knew in my heart that if I did it the way I normally did it, that it probably would, I would wind up with the same thing. So today, man, I'm excited about the show. You know, I know it's like something we just kind of preached about and stuff. And then I know you and I always have side conversations before the service and between the service. And I think a topic that's really, really important is having real faith, because that's actually what's going to change your life, right?
But I think that sermon was fire.
Yeah.
The illustrations you used were.
And so we're gonna talk. I want to go part by part. So count it all joy. It starts off with counting it all joy. And so, you know, as I was saying Sunday, that sounds kind of crazy when you tell somebody that's going through something to count it all joy. Just imagine, you know, right? Because we're reading it.
Yeah.
But like when you're going through something, why is it that a lot of times we don't get joyful? Is there something that you're learning in life that maybe you should be counting it all joy, but maybe you're not looking at it that way?
There's a lot of stuff sometimes. I think.
Why don't we count it all joy?
Well, I think we make the problem bigger than who Jesus is in our life. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like we tell, instead of telling our problem about how big our God is, we tell God about how big our problem is. You know what I mean? And we got to kind of get to the place that, I don't know, God knows about our problem. Not only does he know about our problem, but he knows the solution. He is the solution. He'll get us out. He's in us in the fire. He's with us in the fire. Like, he's never left us in the midst of us going through our problem.
Yeah.
But I think for me, sometimes what happens is that I want to get out right now, you know, or I need the answer right now, Lord. Like, why am I going through this? All these things.
Jump out the frying pan.
Yeah, all these things that are going on, you know, I begin to question. So that, of course, it's what you were saying this morning, like when we start looking and magnifying that, I'm speaking death into my life.
Yeah.
So of course my perspective is already negative and not empowering. So that's what brings those feelings.
Well, yeah, because joy pretty much is faith that keeps its eye on the bigger picture, right? On eternal things, right? The better gift. Listen, have you ever been through something that you look back and you say, man, I hated that season? But we really wouldn't. You ever did that where you look back and you go, man, I hated that season?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be. Pretty much, you wouldn't be. Oh, I know. Yeah, I know what season you're
As a
talking
matter
about.
of fact, yeah.
As a matter of fact, let's talk about it again. But like, no, but to understand, every time you went through the fire, you know, because Jesus is in the fire.
Yeah.
If done right, you come out the fire totally different. And those were some of the things we talked about Sunday. But the goal of being in that fire is to be refined, to look more like the Son, or to look more like Jesus. Your character is burning away all the stuff that shouldn't even be there, right?
Yeah. All the flesh, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Would you say you burn the flesh right now, or you burn it later when you go to hell?
That was a
straight up.
Yeah, I mean, because faith that can't be tested can't be trusted, right?
Mm.
I think that's really, really important. And so here he's talking about having all these trials, and a lot of times we have, let's say, it could be any problem, whether it's relationships or finances or adultery, anything that happens, you're like, don't talk about
I mean, at this
any,
point, I'm like,
any
yep.
yeah, this one you're like, okay.
But you
But
know, like, there's some trials or fires that I feel like God allows to take place because He's refining us, and then there's some fires that we ourselves start.
oh,
The
totally.
consequences of our actions or our disobedience, or like, for example, like mine, adultery. God didn't like say, I'm gonna make you commit. You know what I'm saying? It was just a consequence for what I did, that
Totally.
not put me in the fire, but because He's in the fire, he's always willing to help and refine and teach
Yeah,
and
and that's where, I mean, well, if you okay, if you think of the things he's like talking about the trials, and then he's like, let endurance have its perfect face, and other perfect, let endurance have its full effect. Let it be mature and complete. Let it be perfect, right?
yeah,
Like when you go through something, and then he goes into asking wisdom. So like, yeah, when you're, and then he talks about temptation, right? So
yeah,
first he's telling you test and trial, and it's actually to build you up and all this stuff. And then he kind of gets into ask me for wisdom, even though a lot of times people ask for wisdom and don't do it,
yeah,
right? Like, give me wisdom and then don't do it. And then he goes into the temptation, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But
yeah,
in that temptation, that's why God's like, hey, I never tempt you to destroy you. So like, the goal there is to have enough wisdom to go like, okay, this chick's hot,
yeah,
right? Or I'm having problems in my marriage and I think this chick is hot. I need to go talk to somebody. That's what wisdom would have
yeah,
said.
yeah.
But if you don't ask,
And
then
sometimes I think we ask, but we don't do. We just say like that, I think you said that in the sermon series about wisdom, like we say God's wisdom is perfect, but we still don't. We
oh,
don't.
because that desire.
Yeah, I think because like, because even when I was preaching on wisdom, I felt like one of the things that I learned about God's wisdom is that it has to be applied in faith.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense.
all day
Like
long.
it destroys our human intellect. So even those three sometimes push us to not want to take His wisdom,
Oh,
because
totally.
you're telling me to do what? You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I don't know. I was thinking even this morning, kind of driving it. Just the I always keep processing the message.
Yeah,
Because I like to wrestle with the text in my own soul, with my own mind. My will and emotions. I like to think with my soul. I'm kind of wrestling with like everything I was saying,
yeah,
and for me, I think like it's a constant thing, right? Like things get even keel after a while. But like, let's say for me this morning, right? I was sharing with y'all, I went to the doctor, and like little things that instantly propose a thought.
yeah,
And then like, let's say I have other things going on in my life, right? Um, then at that moment, if I'm believing something by faith, there's a season where I'm in this fire that I'm standing. Do you understand? Like
yeah,
that's the part where I'm always telling people. I think like the same thing I'm doing now is the same thing I did the first. Like it never changes. Doesn't matter if bigger platform. Doesn't matter if there's more money. None of that. You could burn all that away. The same thing. Like my hardest year was the first year that like I got out. That was probably the hardest year I probably ever had in my life. Like I remember it clearly.
yeah.
But what I applied then, right? Because that's really where my real faith would have been tested.
You created habits.
Well, sure,
Yeah,
because at that point, I remember getting out. I remember everything being a mountain. And what I mean
yeah,
by a mountain, a problem, right? Like I go
yeah,
over here, I try to get my license. I need a job, but I can't get a job until I get an ID. I can't get an ID until I take the class for 7 days and pay the $114. I don't have the $114 because they only gave me 100 and I spent
yeah,
20 in Taco Bell, so I only got 80.
yeah.
Right? I don't have nobody in Texas to ask, hey, I didn't have this where I go like, hey, bro, I didn't have
Yeah.
none of that. Right? So it's me, God, the Bible, and then Ruthie. And I don't want to ask her because
Yeah,
I'm still
facts.
prideful. I'm like,
Yeah,
I ain't
yeah.
asking her for. So
And
she would
she
say,
will.
hey, I'll help you. I'm like, no, no, no. I remember telling her this like 100 times. I said, if God wants me to do this, then He's gonna provide. I
Amen.
said, nobody, I don't, and he could have been providing through her.
Yeah,
Idiot.
I was
I
gonna
was an
say
idiot. I was an idiot. But
that. Like,
I
yeah,
needed
fool.
humility. I needed humility,
Yeah, amen.
And so it was like all these things, but the faith I had inside to what I was thinking kept me joyful because I knew that at some point that too shall pass.
I was reading this thing that, just kind of emphasizing on what you're saying, that It says what we put into practice regularly
Yeah.
will do. And I think I was telling you about it in times of pressure. And it was kind of going on the along like battling lust. Like if we get into a regularly habit of calling people every day and telling them what we're going through and telling
Yeah.
them how we're feeling. That's what we resort to when something's going down. That's we're under pressure or when we're fighting something. But if we don't do that regularly, there's
Mm.
something when we're being squeezed, we won't do that. So if we're not praying regularly, if we're not reading regularly, if we're not worshiping, we're not seeking Him, we're not being accountable, we're not doing these things regularly, when we're being crushed or squeezed, that we won't resort to that.
Well, totally. Then that's where, like, for me, I felt like I had all these years of like reading the Bible, reading the Bible, reading the Bible, reading the Bible, and then I get out and I have to actually, now I'm put in a place where I have to live out
Apply it.
certain things. But I was living out certain things, like not strapping my boots to fight every time I got mad, or
Yeah.
not, like, little things of like being like what we would consider ourselves like, oh man, I'm being a punk right now, right? Because
Yeah.
you're so used to living this life, and you're killing certain desires. When I was locked out, I was killing certain desires, like whether they were being too loud. It wasn't the way it would be as much out here, but you're still killing a desire. It's
Yeah.
just desire. Once you
A
learn how to kill a
mindset.
desire, you start progressing and killing other desires, right?
Right.
And so throughout that season, yeah, everything, I tell people all the time, I go, man, I didn't start really living it out till like 3 years after I got, like, all the first 3 years were like hard, but everything I was filling myself with, I had to pull on,
Yeah.
because it was
That's
difficult.
good.
Like, I didn't have money. I wanted to have sex with this woman that I was going to later marry, but I knew in my heart that if I did it the way I normally did it, that it probably I
Jack
would wind up with
yo.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, wisdom, I mean, because like you said, wisdom is speaking. The question is, are you listening to the wisdom so it's funny because we'll ask for the wisdom,
Yeah.
Lord, help me.
Yeah.
And then He gives you wisdom. Then you're like, yeah, I don't know if I like that. So
Thank
then you go
you.
to what you think is right. And man, there's a way that seems right to a man that always leads him to destruction, and
Come
it'll
on.
always mess you up. James 1:13, 1:13 through 15 says, God doesn't tempt anyone. Each person is dragged by his own desires. So you got to be clear. God tests faith, but He never tempts you with sin. The temptation you're wrestling with, it didn't show up by accident. It came from a seed you didn't kill.
Mm.
And so you got to, it's a constant thing. So, fast forward, I feel like I was in the season because I was thinking this morning, and I was like, man, for certain things, I feel like I'm standing.
Yeah.
And
In the fire.
yeah,
Yeah.
and emotions are going crazy,
Yeah.
right? Emotions are going crazy because I start feeling for certain things.
Yeah.
Now, as I always say, those things indicate, hey, this is what's going on in your heart right now, right? But
Yeah.
God's like, wait,
Yeah.
or don't move yet on that.
No.
And I start feeling like control you
Yeah.
have
Like
no control
why?
because you don't have control over the situation. You don't have control over who. You start getting in your head like, man, nobody cares, nobody, right? You start feeling like all alone, like, where is everybody? Nobody knows because obviously you would have to tell somebody.
Yeah.
That's the first
Fast.
thing.
You're
But
just going
just
through all this
you start
warfare.
creating this pity party, and
Yeah.
you start creating whatever, like you said in the beginning, what we were talking about. You start magnifying that problem,
Yeah.
and God's voice gets smaller and smaller, and the noise gets louder and louder, and then you don't know what to do, and then you have to watch from not being led by one of your feelings, because those feelings most of the time try to lead you to a desire that would numb whatever it is you're going through, and
Facts.
they're usually all bad. That's how people mess up,
Yeah.
right? You don't really start thinking you, you're doing great with your wife until you get in a big argument,
Yeah.
right? Or in a series of
And then you're
arguments.
living from a certain place.
Yeah, and that
Or even
desire is
thinking
like,
from
you
there.
don't really need that. Like, you can
Yeah.
go over here, and then you're like, if you bite that apple, you're done.
I'll show her.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So how about for you? Like how? What are some of the things? Because not only do I feel like sometimes I'm standing, some of the things are going great, but it just happens. Like, you start getting a series of thoughts, or you're pretty much like, I don't know, fear tries to creep in. Like, what are some of the things that for you, um, you think is a desire that you're usually trying to kill?
A desire that I'm trying to kill. I think, man, one of the things that I fight can sometimes be insecurities, or even like in the season that I'm now.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes I expect certain things,
Expectations.
Yeah, expectations from maybe people or maybe just like a certain people for the most part.
Yeah, this turns into let's talk about people. Let's
From
talk about
people.
Gerardo in April.
And then they don't,
Dang.
and then I feel like I'm pouring out what I feel like I need to be pouring out, and they still don't respond the way that I'm like, what the heck? So then I can sometimes be like, man, am I doing something wrong?
Yeah.
Like, is it me? Or I'm based with also with the thought of like, man, what's up with this person? So
Yeah.
even the desire of like, hey, should I check them? You know what I'm saying? Or what do I do type of thing. So the desire, and it's pride, of course, in that sense, you know what I mean? But like just dealing with people and being patient and being considerate and even stepping out of my mind and really thinking like maybe they have something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know what's going on with them,
Yeah.
you know? And like even the challenge of now, like I get to do this 24/7, you know.
Yeah.
So even taking that into consideration, because I'm like, hurry up and answer, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, like, what
When
are
you
you
were the
waiting
one
for?
before that, when you were working, it took you 2 days. Now you're like, you need to answer me in minutes.
Yeah, so like even all those thoughts kind of sometimes I gotta wrestle with.
I was thinking this morning, and I was like, I usually when the task gets, let's say it's a, because I feel like you mature at certain levels, right? And then all of a sudden, like, I keep hearing G, you're sliding down.
Yeah.
I
Where you going?
I feel like at every level, I feel like I have to face something that maybe I thought I whooped already.
Yeah.
It's like doing math, addition, and then fraction, and then division and calculus. Like you're always gonna be doing math. It just changes,
Yeah.
how, right? So, as I keep maturing or it gets bigger, like the land and the thing where, most people that it's kind of funny when sometimes people are like, just pray, brother. And I'm like thinking, man, you struggling with making $30. Like
Yeah.
I'm believing for like $5 million, $10 million. I'm like, that rolls so easy off the tongue,
Yeah.
right? But you could take the same advice personally, right? Because
Facts.
it doesn't matter if it's 30 or a million. It's still the same faith.
It's still worry.
It's still faith for whatever,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
still worry. So for me, I feel like two things I don't see I'm struggling with, because I think like, oh, I've defeated it, right? But I defeat it only when I fight it with the word. Like the whole
Yeah.
part I wasn't smart enough, or right? Like I start, oh, I am smart enough and
Yeah,
I could do
amen.
this. And so I have a good season. But then when the mountains get really big, or I start thinking like just being vulnerable with everybody out there, is that sometimes I'm like, okay, because I sold drugs. Just in case you didn't know, I sold drugs most of my life. And so I don't have like that cushion of like social security and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I want to be a good provider for my home, and my life is incredible right now, right? But if I look in the context of like, let's say I'm going to be 65 in 10 years, right? Then that hits a little different.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know if am I going to make it? Like, am I going to make it? Because I could be living great, but everything I have now, if I get natural minded, I'm like, that wouldn't last. That was going to last like 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? So then I start getting in my head. And then obviously, my awesome kids, sometimes they're like, you're going to be, we got you. I'm like, what are you trying to get you right now? Like, excuse the French, but I'm like, it's really funny when they get, because, well, they don't understand.
Yeah.
Most people just don't understand.
Yeah.
Right? I started my life at 40 years old. So has God done incredible things? Like I finished school. I got finances. I budget well. I bought a house. All these things that people go like, wow, to, right?
Yeah.
But those are just things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you're 65, I'm already getting tired a little. So then I'm like, man, what am I going to be like when I'm 60?
Yeah.
And we could all joke around like we do in the office and all that, and we're all joking. But there's a reality to that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because realistically, everybody's there for you, but even if everybody's there for you, sometimes you see that in life when things happen, most people, even though they're there for you, if it comes between them and you, they pick them.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
pick
we've seen
themselves.
it.
They pick themselves.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like, okay, you could be like, hey, I'm there for you, but now all of a
To
sudden,
what extent?
to what extent?
Yeah.
Because now I can't. I don't know. I start getting in this whole like, man, how am I gonna pay the mortgage? That means I gotta pay the house off. Oh my God, I got. And then I get into this thing.
Yeah.
That desire sometimes creates blindness, right?
Yeah.
It's like this, then it creates disobedience, right? So I get deception from it, where I
Yeah.
think, where I take over God's job, kind of like I got it, and then I want to help everybody.
Yeah.
So I want to help everybody,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing, but not if you're trying to take the place of God. Or God's like, no, hold up, I'm trying to do
Yeah, you're
something
trying
in
to
their
be God in
life.
somebody's. Yeah, exactly.
You're
Yeah.
gonna try to help them, and I need them to fall apart.
Yeah. Or I need them to lean on
And
me.
then
And
you're like, I
just,
don't want them to fall apart,
yeah.
right? And so,
Yeah.
and so that,
They're like, I need them to trust me.
yeah, because sometimes when we think desires, we just think the horns, and we think everything, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like we think that, but desire could be like, you desire to be wealthy. That overtakes. So wealth isn't bad if you're
Yeah.
building a kingdom, but if the desire to be wealthy
It's an idol.
becomes greater than,
Yeah.
then yeah,
That's
you're jacked up.
anything at that point. Wealth, fame,
Anything,
significance, yeah,
anything,
ministry, like,
anything,
yeah,
anything. So that's the part. That's the part where you can go to God's wisdom and be in a test because it looks different than what your desires. This is why when you delight in the Lord,
amen.
right? That means that when I keep delighting in the Lord, well, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. All of these verses, his instruction is perfect.
Yeah.
All of those things start culminating together, and that's what you cross reference in the Bible. Okay, they're cross reference inside of your soul,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, oh, okay, I got to go to God's wisdom in the midst of the temptation. That's what he's trying to tell you. Like, yo, that desire is tempting you, and you know it's gonna destroy you.
Yeah. It
I
all
mean,
points to him.
yeah, it still goes. So he's like, no. This could be a test if you
Yeah.
choose to go through wisdom, because you're like, I really want to do that. And
Yeah.
he's like, I know you do, but don't be tempted and don't get destroyed.
Yeah.
That desire is causing deception. That deception is causing disobedience. That disobedience is causing death. So at that point, he's like, no. Listen to what I gotta say. And when you do it, let's say he's like, don't go over there. You almost feel like your dad when you were young, no va pa allá, like, okay, like you feel like that. And it right when the Lord, when I'm like, oh God, but I could go over here and I could pay this, and he's like, yeah, but I don't want you to go.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Just wait for a little bit.
Yeah. And so sometimes you do go anyway. You're like, I'm gonna go. Especially if it's ministry. That's where most people get deceived.
Yeah.
If it's going out there, but your wife's like, we haven't dated, and
Yeah. Well, it's because we're doing things for the Lord.
that's where the deception.
In Jesus' name. How
In
you
Jesus'
say
name.
it?
But if your home is falling apart,
Yeah.
if your marriage, those are so key indicators.
I think that's kind of the fight that we sometimes have to face, and that requires us being real with ourselves. Like, am I really going to do this because God called me to go do it?
Yeah.
Or has ordered me to go do it? Or am I doing it to run away from problems at home? For even a lack of self-worth? To make up for something? Like, why am I really doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
The heart posture.
Oh, totally. And that's the part, now we're going to get to the part that you said you love, because I want to hear your perspective on the illustration and all that. But something that I started jotting down yesterday was, you don't fall into sin, you feed it until it grows into something that kills you, right?
The leopard.
Like, right? Because I was like, well, how do I know how I preached it, because over there I kick on and I just start going, but when I start thinking about something, I would say I start tweaking and changing stuff. But when you can't accept correction, if you can read the Bible and accept correction, which is when you look in the mirror.
Yeah.
I remember there was a person holding the mirror. Sometimes it's somebody that corrects you, and they actually trying to help you, because they're like, yo, man,
they love you.
like you're married or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I look at you, I always go to the one story. But it's whatever, the little leopard always turns into the big one, right? And so if you're feeding it, in order for that, if you don't feed it, it'll die. That little leopard, if you don't feed it, it won't grow up.
Yeah, it'll starve to death.
Yeah, it'll starve to death. But if you keep feeding it, the second picture was this picture of this large leopard, right? That looked like it'll kill you. The first one looked like it wouldn't kill you.
Yeah, like a little kitty cat.
Like a little kitty cat that everybody wants to take home. And I think we gotta be honest. Like I always say, if I lie to myself, I lie to everybody else. So I'm real with myself, like super real. Like I'm like, no. Like this is what you would do.
I think that's also a challenge, because some of us have lied to ourselves to do wickedness, like prior to Christ.
Yeah, totally.
Like to sell drugs.
Yeah.
To go rob somebody.
Yeah.
I don't
Smoke
know,
weed,
to,
get
yeah,
drunk,
to
have
whoop
sex all the
somebody, to
time
shoot
with
at
5,000
people.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm doing this like in justification.
sure.
So when it comes to Christ, then he's trying to, because I think that's the first major key step to deliverance, to healing, to
Sure.
freedom, to restoration, to any supernatural move of God. You have to be self-aware of what's going on in your heart.
Yeah,
If you don't, if you're not, then he can't. He
sure.
can't move because you're not convinced that you have a problem. So how's he gonna fix something that you don't even feel that you got?
Yeah.
So the being real with, like, man, you know what? I'm lusting right now,
Yeah.
or I'm idolizing his
Well,
money.
that's why discipleship is important,
Facts.
right? So because you're right. When you first come, you've been deceived for so long, but at some point, that's why the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Wisdom.
It is because if you don't take God at His word, then you don't have the fear of the Lord,
Yeah.
right? So when He's like, "Hey, this is wrong,"
Yeah.
and you read it, and you're like, "Yeah, I don't know," and you're still wrestling. But then you're getting discipled, or you're living life with somebody, and that person tells you like, "Nah, bro, like you flirt with like every girl of the church. I get you trying to know somebody, but you flirt with every single girl at the church, and uh and that's wrong." And it's like, "Nah, man, I'm just trying to get to know him." I'm like, "Nah, bro,
Yeah.
you're doing the same thing you did at the club."
Facts.
If you have the fear of the Lord, right, even though it'll bother you, the goal is to go, man, if this guy has fruit and I'm wanting that life, then I should listen. That's why the fear of the Lord is the beginning, is the
You-
foundation of wisdom,
The
right?
cool part of, like, even if, let's just, because for me, right, for
Come
me,
here.
there's some things that I'm like you'll say, and I'm like, but I'm not even doing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, yeah.
but I'm not even. That's not accurate. But I always tell myself, what do I have
You
to
terco?
lose? Huh? No, like
Like,
I could,
so you're
yeah,
you're
I could
hard
buck a
headed.
little bit, but I always tell myself, like, but what if he is right?
Yeah.
Or even if he's not right, what do I have to lose by submitting?
So now you're in, don't just be a hero of the word, do something.
Yeah, because I don't lose if you're like, hey, bro, stop. I'm gonna use the hypothetical example you just said. Like, don't be talking to everybody at the church, and I'm like, but I'm just trying to, get them to Jesus, but you're telling me that, what do I feel like wholeheartedly I will not lose anything by following what you said.
Mm,
I could probably gain something.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think the whole, like, rebellion of, like, nah, I'm not doing anything wrong, and continue to do it is kind of what leads us to even more rebellion and destruction
Yeah.
and failure, and sin. So why not, if somebody you're walking with, like, I guess the first question is, do they love you? Do you see fruit? You know what I'm saying? Is that who God? Because even that, this is who I feel. I am 100% sure that God said, this is my voice in your life.
Yeah.
If God has said that, why would you buck? Or why would you?
That's because everybody's like, no, if you buck. Everybody's.
Yeah, because I do what I want. I know what I want. Yeah,
Yeah. But then
yeah.
they're complaining about their life. Yeah. No,
They run
that's
into
good
the wall,
stuff.
and it's
You did the mirror
insanity.
thing. Okay. You doing, because I was explaining it.
Yeah.
And I know, like, there was a long time ago, I played Jesus. Yeah, I did. Hey, let
Did
me
you
tell
have the
you.
wig?
Bro, I played Jesus amongst thousands of people, and Vinny was like, Pastor Vinny,
Yeah.
he was a Roman soldier, and he kicked me for real. I told him, yo, bro, because I told him, yo, make it, and so he kicked me, like, boom, and I was like, I wanted to be like, man, imagine Jesus fought the Roman soldier,
The scripture has
You
changed.
So when I played it, though,
That's
and I
funny.
would like, I was playing, I played it too. I played it, in my heart, I feel like I could have acted, but,
Yeah.
I landed to the ground. I looked at people, and they would just start crying, right? And when I was up on the cross, bro, it hit me. It hit
Yeah.
me. I guess because I try to be so much in character that I was up on
You
the
went
cross.
there.
Oh, bro, I started crying, and this is funny, though. I started crying, and the kid goes, Mommy, because I was dead, but I was crying, and he goes, Mommy, Jesus is crying, but I went in, so I feel like when you walk out apart, just kind
Yeah.
of like when you walk out the word, right? So for you, being on the side that was walking out the scripture, because you were literally walking it out, looking in the mirror, right? If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's up there. It just got uploaded, right? It's this past last week, right? Real faith endures. And when you were up there, what'd you get from that? Like, how did it hit you?
I think even prior to getting up there, it hit me.
Okay.
Because remember, like we were like, you just dress like that and see what happens, you know. So I kind of prior to me in first service, prior to me getting up on the stage to holding the mirror, I kind of was already messed up my shirt and had like I was messed up basically externally in appearance, and I would talk to people and some of them would just look at me like they knew something was wrong with me, but nobody told me nothing.
Mm.
You know, I think it was only Pastor Todd and another guy behind him who were like, "Hey, bro, like, fix your shirt." You know what I'm saying?
They
Like,
don't want to tell you nothing because you were a pastor, you think?
yeah, yeah. And that's and in my mind, I was like, how many people would watch me sin and not say anything?
Wow.
How many people would watch me walk into destruction and not correct me and love me enough to be like, "Hey, what you're doing is wrong." Even being a pastor, like, and I was like, man, that's wild, right? And even going up there to standing in the mirror, and because I played the part of like wisdom speaking to me, friends speaking to me, Holy Spirit speaking to me, the mirror, which is the word speaking
Yeah.
to me, and then even in the sense of like, I know, oh yeah, you're right, for real, thank you, and then still walking away and not applying anything that I say I agree with or that was spoken to me. It just for me, it's spoken to the sense of like, am I really doing that in some areas in my life? Am I
Mm.
becoming self-aware of the areas that I may be doing that and kind of listening to what God is saying to me in those areas? Like, hey, bro, I'm giving you wisdom in
That's
your
really
finances.
good.
I'm giving you wisdom in this area, and you say yeah, you say thank you, but you tripping. You know, I thought
Yeah.
for me, it spoke volumes to me in that level,
It's
but
really good.
mostly in the sense of like, man, nobody was willing to correct me.
What do you think? I don't know. I used to always have to tell, like, especially my kids and stuff, like, because sometimes when you're correcting somebody, even in, like, let's say you got other adults and they're not really like your kids per se, but you're correcting them because you love them. It takes just as much effort for the one correcting because you don't want to. Like, I know for me, it's like, ugh, like I gotta tell them again, even though they're the ones going like, "Ugh, I can't believe he said that to me." I think sometimes the person getting corrected has to think, do they love me?
Yeah,
And have they told me this 50 times?
yeah,
Because at that point, just as much as you're getting frustrated, you're probably frustrating the other person. And here's the crazy part: if they decide to follow the Bible and dust their feet and not ever tell you nothing again, then they're going to complain that, hey, man, what's wrong? Why are you different? Oh, bro, because you're probably going to hurt
yeah.
my
I've been
life.
telling you 50 times and you
I
don't
told
listen.
you 50 times, 100 times. At some point, I'm not your dad. I'm not your babysitter. We're all adults. And I think sometimes we have to really think from the aspect of the person that's correcting, because that could stress out the other person. It could give them a heart attack. Like, there's all these things that we think, nah, I ain't gonna. Yeah, if they're doing that with 10 people,
Yeah,
that's what brings the stress. That doesn't give joy. That's why it says it's unprofitable for you,
yeah.
right? So, like, I think a lot of times both parties have to think, man, the person correcting, they love me enough. And how many times have they said it? Because biblically, after a while, you don't have
What's that
to.
scripture that says to honor your leaders and what they tell you?
Hebrews 13:17, or
What
I
does it
think,
say though? I was like,
obey your leaders, and because they watch over your souls. And if and you should when they correct you, it should be a joy. I'm paraphrasing. It should be a
yeah,
joy, and not if because if not, it'll be unprofitable for
yeah,
them.
and it gives them joy,
Yeah.
like, because they're correcting you from a place of like they love you and they
Oh,
want to
all
see
day
you be
long.
fruitful and they want to see you grow.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes when I correct people, I'm like, bro, I don't want you to go through what I went through. Like, cause I know like the pain and the
It's that
grieving
desire, man. I'm
and the
telling you.
shame and the guilt and all that I went through. Like I wouldn't want that for my enemy. Why would And I'm giving you wisdom or counsel or speaking life into a situation that
Yep.
I've been at. Like,
Yep.
please
It's that
listen.
desire. It's that desire creates deception, man. The authority of the word has to be greater than the desire that you have.
Yeah.
You have to delight in the Lord more than whatever it is you're delighting. Because there's things that sometimes it just feels good. It gives you comfort in the midst of whatever, man. And anything that numbs, it's kind of like I always say, spiritual marijuana. It's like this. Like, if I do, God's wisdom just sounds like, I gotta do that, and then
Yeah.
the other one's like, like, this
That's the
was
evidence of us
good.
loving ourselves more than we love him.
Yeah. You want to give a shout out to somebody before we wrap this thing up?
Oh yeah, I want to give a shout out to Polanski unit, man.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I know they're going through a rough time. They've had some change in leadership, and people are dying. People are getting murdered. People are overdosing.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's
I
crazy.
was reading something about that yesterday.
Yeah, Edward, which is somebody who got out of Pulaski not too long ago, was saying that they're telling him ambulances are coming and leaving and coming and leaving like nothing. So it's pretty chaotic over there, man. But yesterday we got with the prison ministry, we got into prayer for them. So I just want to let them know that we love them and we haven't. They're not forgotten about. We're thinking about them. We're praying for them, and we know God's in the midst and He's doing something. I also wanted to shout out
There's somebody
Julian.
just got killed there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some guy that was locked. He got. I guess he was part of like some. I think it was like 14 people who did like a machete killing or something like that. Well, he got murdered yesterday. I think. Yeah, it's just been crazy over there. They're
Yeah.
taking away programs. They're taking away all these stuff. So there are people. The inmates are bucking.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then Julian Gonzalez. He's at Robertson Unit. One of his, I think he was his, I don't know, somebody, family member came to the church and asked us to lift him up in prayer. So just wanted to give him a shout out as well. All the prisons,
That's
everybody
the
who
one that
listens
we
to us.
all prayed for.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Uh,
yeah, you're getting prayed for, man. And listen,
yeah.
let me tell you something. If your faith doesn't show up when life gets hard, if you're living double-minded, if you're feeding temptation instead of starving it, if you know the word but won't obey it, maybe it's not the devil trying to wreck your life. Maybe it's you not letting the word work in you.
Come on.
And so listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, I need help. I need help. Tell somebody to buy the book. Listen, there's all these things we want to do. We want to get a home for guys to get
Facts.
out of prison. And yeah, I am willing that if sales come in like that, I'm willing to take probably all of it or most of it, because at least I need a vacation out of it. But the rest, I'm willing to buy a home with it, man. If I looked and the finances were there, so I need you to tell every single person on the planet to buy That's Crazy, No, That's God. Remember, I mean, I could be like, you buy That's Crazy, No, That's God, and I'm just like, boom, I bought a new house. No, I'm willing to sow it in.
Amen.
I just need you to buy the book, right? Because I don't have the finances like that. But if every single person, if we got 2 million people watching and 2 million people bought a book, that's a possibility, like in one shot.
Not even that, it's an investment into your own life. You know,
Yeah.
I think there's times that we look into situations where we don't believe God can move in.
Yeah.
And that's a testament of that.
Oh, it's a total testament.
Yeah. So
Like the Matt Cruz is in there, the president of Life Christian University. They've all written reviews, and so I was like a little nervous when I sent it to everybody to hear. And I'm gonna start posting the reviews so you can see. And I'm gonna do a really big contest. I think I'm gonna do a wild contest.
come on.
You know what it's gonna be?
What?
It's gonna be a trip to get wrapped. From wherever you're at, you're gonna be on the show on This Is Real.
You're gonna sit
Right?
front row
So
seat.
listen,
We're gonna baptize you.
all of the above, all of the above. So pretty soon we're gonna be doing That's Crazy Not. So pretty much, I think the challenge is gonna be. So watch out for it.
Amen.
The challenge is gonna be where we're gonna have people do a video of their That's Crazy No, That's God story.
That's dope.
So maybe you got one. Hold on, man. You down the street.
I
want to win.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thank you so
Sunday.
much for tuning into This Is Real. Don't forget, man, ask God for wisdom, because He's got it for you. It doesn't matter what it is you're going through. He got wisdom for it. And don't get punked by the devil by getting tempted, man, and falling for your desires. Always remember that those desires led you to a place that you were crying out for God at one time. And you were like, man, get me out of this. Don't let those same desires trap you up and get you locked up again. Peace. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much to all the real ones for joining us every single week. You can be a part of the crew by following us on all our social media outlets. Also, you can write us at P.O. Box 671626, Houston, Texas 77267. And don't forget, stay real.